Welcome to CRM Audio, the Dynamics 365 podcast with Business Solutions MVPs George Dubinsky, Joel Lindstrom, and Sean Tabor. This episode is sponsored by Alexa CRM. WordPress powers over 25% of all the websites on the internet, and it's a number one choice for blogs, websites, and portals. Because it's open source, simple to use, reliable, and extensible. Dynamics 365 has become a de facto standard in sales, marketing, customer service, and industry solutions. Now, WordPress and Dynamics can work together thanks to Dynamics CRM WordPress plugin built with love by the Alexa CRM team. Capture forms, engage your users and customers, all without writing any code. Control your site in WordPress while keeping your data in Dynamics 365. To build the plugin, Alexa CRM has created an open-source Dynamics 365 PHP toolkit, unlocking the world of Dynamics for PHP developers. Download your 30-day trial from alexacrm.com/plugin and instantly create a portal by connecting Dynamics 365 and your WordPress sites. And this episode is also sponsored by KingswaySoft. KingswaySoft is a leading integration solution provider offering software solutions that make data integration affordable and painlessly easy. Thousands of enterprise clients from over 65 countries and regions rely on KingswaySoft to integrate data with various business systems in order to drive their business efficiency and fully leverage their information assets. KingswaySoft is a leading provider of Microsoft Dynamics integration software, including Dynamics 365, CRM, AX, Nav, GP, SL, as well as many other applications such as Marketo, Dropbox, QuickBooks, and Salesforce. Whether you need one solution or several, KingswaySoft works easily within the SSIS platform to make your integration processes as quick and easy as possible. Many of their clients have seen 3 to 10 times greater integration performance after switching to the SSIS integration platform. We thank KingswaySoft and Alexa CRM for their support of CRM Audio. Well, gentlemen, we got Mr. Chris Cognato with us today. Hey, Chris.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad you could join. We're all coming off of the high of the executive briefing for the July release, and this is a strange new world where we can tweet and talk immediately about what they showed us.
Yeah,
I'm still, just from my years as MVP, I'm just scared to talk about anything I saw, but they said it was okay, so let's go for it.
Well, I think they had catch 22 because on some slides they had Microsoft Confidential under NDA. What it actually usually means is that if you never signed the NDA, you're free to talk about it. But if you did sign NDA, technically you're in breach. So we're all gone if we talk about it.
The head bot from Microsoft tweeting everything about Dynamics. I mean, this is an amazing release, isn't it? I mean, I've never seen the amount of change that we have coming from 1.2 in the beginning days, as you guys as well. I mean, it's amazing the problems that we have solved. Finally, multi-select list. Woo! Woo! Well, obviously, you guys know I've been following Azure a lot, and the integration with the platform, with Dynamics and Azure, is just getting stronger and stronger. The things that we're able to do, the ability to use the connectors and move the data off, do reporting, et cetera, like they showed in Power BI, the ability of the actual analytics, the Cortana analytics, the UI, or the AI, I should say, looking at lead scoring and predictive scoring. I mean, that is some stuff that, it's talk of the future, right, of where we're headed. But happy that the platform is all involved and integrated with not just one product line. It can access all of those product lines. The gloves are off, man. I mean, you're talking about a robust platform. I don't see any other vendor that has a platform what Dynamics has today. It's just not possible. As far as the least feature, I don't know. George gave a good example of the multi-select list there where, if it stores it in one field, that would be hard. I would be hard pressed to give you a negative from the release right now. Maybe you guys have me back on in a couple months and we'll see what we can find out by then, what doesn't work. Actually, I do have one thing I'll say. It's not around this physical release. It's just around where we are today. I think the rate change has been tremendous with Jujar and everything going on there. But it's left little time to finish off these products and make them finished products. And what I mean by that is we see a lot of little bugs in things that people didn't test or didn't catch scenarios. And I know all you guys are all blogging and posting about those items and how we get them fixed, etc. But it would be nice to take a cycle out and just go through bugs, right? Clean up items, clean up the things that were supposed to do this, supposed to do that. That would be my only complaint.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's been impressed on me this week that there still are industries and scenarios that the new Outlook app isn't ready for. And, give you a good example is it does not do delegate tracking, where if you have your assistant creating appointments for you, and that is a very common scenario and one that currently requires Outlook synchronization. And, they announced on the call today that Outlook client is basically going into deprecated or maintenance mode where, it's still going to work, but they're taking some things like offline away from it, which, there's not a lot of people using offline. There still are a few. I got a few, but, the reality is...
I was clapping, right? I mean, how many trouble tickets are we going to have about that thing, right?
Yeah.
Offline sync gone. I mean, they've replaced it with other things like server-side sync, right? They replaced the app with the front end. So it's not like they took away 100% of the functionality, but you're right. We're going to have these gaps trying to find out where that is and what we can do to make it better. But, I think they pointed out on 2 or 3 slides that this change was made because of the community, and using that ideas portal link and voting up those options, that really shows that it works.
Yeah, I'm calling Business Edition Neil Benson Edition because we all know Neil Benson suggested everything. And so every suggestion ultimately leads to Neil. So if they said every line of code in Business Edition came from a suggestion from a user, it's the Neil Benson Edition. So what? Okay, so how about you, Sean? What did you see and what jumped out at you?
I think one of the biggest things that's going to impact the most implementations straight away is really the new UI. Not only the unified client, but just the new UI, the removing of the white space, the additional theming capabilities, the ability to have that kind of contextual app reflected in the mobile client. That is huge for a lot of implementations straight away. That I think was very big. I'm very happy about the multi-select pick list because that's just a pain in the butt to deal with. But looking at how that's going to be accessible through the data, like you're not going to be able to do any charts or graphs on that yet, but the way that they've stored it, it's going to be handled in code in terms of being able to search against it, which is good. So I'm really excited about the new UI and what that potentially can offer customers in implementation, as well as the process flow, the whole process back end, the app designer. That's a really big deal for me.
Yeah, so you mentioned unified UI. From what I understand, tell me if I misheard this, unified UI is really going to be in Business Edition, mobile, and the Customer Service Hub, the replacement for the Interactive Service Hub. It's not the enterprise CRM is getting a cleaned up UI, but it's still not the unified UI. Did I hear that right?
Right. It's not across all clients for enterprise yet. That's the
keyword is yet, right? It's going to be there. We don't know when, obviously. Maybe I'm thinking end of the year when they go to bring it on-prem. But what's really interesting is that being it's on the same platform, the same architecture, the same servers, as they're saying, I don't understand how we just don't have those updates in enterprise today. It's just interesting why they would not enable the screens. Now, maybe they didn't get through all the feature sets to be able to convert them all over. There could be lots of reasons why, or they want to rethink some of the field and how that stuff works within the unified client. But certainly the unified client is what people are going to want.
Well, and it could be, Chris, with Business Edition, you're going to be pretty limited on how you can change it, right? And that may be something to it. With Enterprise, they're going to have to account right away for people going in and changing it through configuration and code. That could be something.
So it's Polaris release take 2?
Oh God, I hope not. No, that was no. But the most disappointing thing for me, I think, is the marketing functionality in Business Edition not being accessible in Enterprise. And we knew that was going to happen. But the downside, I mean, it's great for click dimensions, I guess. But it's just unfortunate that we can't really provide a really strong marketing component out of the box for Enterprise without having to spend inordinate sums of money on a big solution that probably has too much functionality.
That's what I'm a bit confused about, because they mentioned a couple of times that you will be able to run Enterprise and Business in parallel. So does that mean that I'll be able to run those editions, and just to get this marketing and event management functionality, I just need to pay for the Business Edition license? Is that how it works?
I didn't take it that way. I took it as, let's say you have a corporation that has a big unit, a big group, they get Enterprise, but then you have a smaller kind of subsidiary group that doesn't need all of that capability and functionality. They can get Business. So
let me translate it. What you implying that there will be 2 instances.
Right.
My reading was that you can actually have the same instance and to run Enterprise and Business Edition against the same instance. So
that's how I interpreted it, yeah.
But if you can run both, then you have the same data. That means that the only barrier of entry into marketing would be the price. So you would pay for Enterprise Plus, you would pay for Business Edition.
Well, that and the ability to customize and configure marketing. Because they said thoroughly in the business side, there's not going to be a lot you're going to get to be able to change. So with an Enterprise customer, how often have we ever implemented anything and not made at least some modification? So pricing structure, if that's the case, then yeah, you're right. That would be the barrier. But otherwise, it's going to be difficult if you can't modify it or change it or integrate it with another solution or something like that.
Well, otherwise it's drinks all around at Click Dimensions.
Exactly.
So what we learned about Business Edition of customer engagement is that, or Business Edition sales or whatever we want to call it this week, is that it is actually based on CRM, not Navision. I still had people asking me beginning of this week, so isn't Business Edition going to be nav based? Because I think that's the impression that was given
I think the impression was given that it's going to be CDS based, not nav, but CDS, the Common Data Services.
Okay.
And yes,
it has the same front end UI as the mobile app and others, so it's not like it's changing to Navision.
No, Navision is still there, and it gets really confusing on operations side. Finances and operations, it gets really, really confusing, because over there you have 3 products. You have AX, which is enterprise operations. You have Navision, which is business operations, and then you have Madeira. Or rather, I should say you have Madeira, which is business operations, and then you have Navision, which is kind of business operations plus, or whatever you want to call it. So it gets really confusing on the other side.
Right. So what my impression from when they showed Business Edition was, it feels like Business Edition is Microsoft's attempt to kind of start fresh, jettisoning off legacy cruft that they don't probably really like. So they can say, it's going to work only with the Outlook app. Yep. It's not going to support mail merge. It's not going to have, all these old entities nobody's
Does
using.
it have announcements? That's the first question.
Yeah, it's a good question.
If it doesn't, then it's a new start. I like this idea. I like it very much. I like the idea that, look, saying, ooh, we stuck with this monstrosity that we can't chop off things because there are 2 customers in the world who use those announcements, for example, right? Mm-hmm. So let's create this new thing, rename it, push it up, cut the crap, and then slowly evolve into something bigger and better, but without all the legacy stuff. So that's kind of, I like this idea. It would be a very smart long-term move.
It's been in progress for a while because you look at some of the PowerShell commands and things that they have available to see inside orgs, who's using what entities, those type of things, and then all the explosion we saw today with the auditing model and down to the entity level report workflows, what's being used, what's not being used. This is the same methodology they follow in Azure. If an Azure function's released and nobody uses it, it gets deprecated. So they're I like that approach. If they can monitor what features are being used by customers, what do they need, what they don't have, and drive the creativity of the platform by doing that, then that's a home run. And I think we're starting to see that.
That's Chris. Actually, you mentioned the auditing. That was one of the interesting features because it's been pushed to Azure to start with, right? So all the storage, so you no longer have to concern yourself with the storage in CRM. The other bit was someone confirmed on the chat that the views will get audited as well. So remember the challenge that people wanted to monitor selects. So it sounds like we will get this capability. So that's really exciting. So you will be able to.
I mean, is that in Enterprise and Business Edition, or where is that going to be available?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's Enterprise. Yeah, Chris.
Auditing, the way they were saying auditing was Enterprise.
Yeah,
Sorry.
auditing is missing from the Business Edition slides. It was a topic a few people on Twitter had out there that, what do you mean Business Edition doesn't have auditing? Do we not need auditing? And I'm like, well, go put it on the idea forms, but certainly it's not there. If you're listening, Microsoft, that's something that a lot of people want. They want the auditing in the Business Edition as well.
And they want in select statements.
Yeah, what was the statement, or what was revealed about data output from Business Edition, advanced find, reporting, those types of things? Did they get into what options were going to be available?
They did not. I mean, again, I'm just assuming based on their conversation that the platform itself, the architecture below is the same with limits for, number of records, number of entities, number of workflows, etc. They didn't say anything that the SDK or connectors that we have or any of those things wouldn't be able to work against that subset, right? So my gut feel is telling me that yes, we would be able to use those tools. It would make no sense for them not to be able to leverage that tool set. It would not follow the model that they're having right now where everything's working together.
Other than advanced find doesn't work on mobile currently, and it has limited places it's available from. It's still the same it was in CRM version 3. They've added a few different fetch queries you can do, but they haven't changed it. So that's what I'm wondering. Is that getting modernized so I can do an advanced find type query from mobile now?
Right.
And okay, did they specify? And again, I'm saying this because I missed the third day. Sure. Did they specify what exactly the configuration limits are? They said you could limit to number of entities, limit to number of workflows. It sounds like you can have some solution parity, but again, I think those are the outstanding questions. What the look of Business Edition, the functionality it's got. I can think of enterprise clients that are going to want Business Edition.
Oh yeah,
and
so here's the levels.
The question is, what's the extensibility? What's the story for ISVs?
Yeah, so there's a couple good things in that scenario, but let's start with how I perceive the levels are going to work. The first level of restriction is the number of users allowed in the app. We don't know what that number is going to be. We don't know if it's 10, 25, 50, 200. I'm assuming somewhere under 250 users, okay? The second thing they have is data limits. There's going to be limit on how many counts, how many actual records could be inside an entity. The third limitation is going to be on the number of entities that can actually be in the system, with an exception for ISVs, which I love, is that let's say you install Business Edition and then you want to add click dimensions, but it adds 40 entities on top. That will not count against your entity count if it was purchased through the App Store. So that's great, okay? How they're going to manage and police, that's another whole thing. But if you look at that, and then the further limits were actual functionality. No a number of business process flows, number of workflows, all that would be limited. So back when we were talking about some of these conversations, they talked about the ability to have like an XML template that they could load up, put in the number of limitations that they wanted, and the system would just take a enterprise version and limit it. And I think that's where we are. And if you listen to some of the conversations that Matt had around the solution set and all the underlying work that's been done, I don't know if you guys realized how much work has been done behind the scenes to make this release happen. That is really where I see the changes have been made in the framework, breaking out the solutions. You know, it's ingenious. Why would you want to go and the pace of innovation in sales is going to outpace, let's say, the innovation in customer service or in marketing, and you want to update those apps or even fix bugs faster without having to troubleshoot this entire system. So now you can see releases coming in those individual modules because they're going to be separate solutions, just like an ISV. And then George is going to love the fact that, you know, that's going to make the solution stack better because they have to use it, so they're going to wind up fixing more of the challenges that we've all had, right, guys?
Well, thanks for putting the words into my mouth, but I was going to take over and tell you about my favorite feature, and you're absolutely right, Chris, because that was my favorite feature. That behind the scenes, what happened is that the product has been pulled apart and put back together to give us the true XRM platform. So, for example, features like customer service or sales, they eventually will be delivered as solutions. The most interesting question was that, so can we have a naked XRM now? And the answer was, and that's what excited me, is that the answer was that there is no technical reason they couldn't do it. So they can do it from technical perspective, right? Whether they're going to do it or not, that's the question to licensing, marketing, other conditions, right? So it's like Ferrari selling their engines independently. That's a question not to the technical capabilities. But the fact that they can is really exciting, and it cleans up and separates concerns, so to speak. Everyone is on the same plane, on the same playing field. Or in the same playing field. So that was my favorite.
My question with that comes down to things like you got core controls that expect accounts and contacts to be there. You got the customer field that is a lookup to accounts and contacts. You got the core sync
Joel, you
contact form and stuff.
You thinking about the platform. Now think about UI, think about UCI, that is the new UI, right? Can you deliver a naked XRM using just this unified interface or UCI, Universal Client? And the answer would be yes. Can you drag the old interface? The answer is no, but the fact that the platform can support it is important, right? So you would have to sacrifice the interface. You would have to.
I'm not just talking about the interface. I'm talking about platform components like server-side sync. If you don't have the contact entity, I would question how you do that.
But no, you won't. You will have solution dependencies, right? So think of it as server-side sync as a solution. It has dependency on common, let's say, on the customer service, or on sales, or on smaller solution, which includes contacts and accounts. Whatever the way it's structured, it doesn't matter. the fact is that I can have a naked XRM and saying, I don't need context. I only deal with aardvarks, and I don't need server-side sync because I don't have people. And at that moment, I don't need context, I don't need accounts, and so forth. So that's the idea. I think they're on the way to deliver it, and it's very, very exciting. Now, what I dislike most, I didn't dislike any of the features. I was disappointed about a couple things. It's probably least disappointing to the most disappointing. One, I was disappointed that two things didn't make it or didn't get the mentioning. One is custom control framework, which was the big thing, which is part of UCI, its ability for developers to deliver their own controls, right? It didn't get the mentioning.
Well, they talked about it a little bit.
No, I think it will get. I think it will get pushed to next release. That's the reality. I'm not sure. Well, let's wait and see. The other one, workflow. We are not going to get any changes to the editor. I suspect.
But we get flow in the app, right?
Yeah. So for asynchronous workflows, flow in app is a good substitution for most of the scenarios. We did have a tip about it. For the synchronous workflow, there is no substitution yet. So we're still stuck with the old editor. But the most disappointing thing, I'd say, I'm not sure, I'm not privy to the internals of Microsoft, but to me, most disappointing is the departure of Jujar, the man who made it all happen, so to speak. That's kind of a bit deflating. We don't know
if that's 100%. We don't know if he's leaving capacity. We know he's leaving capacity of the Dynamics 365 product and what he was doing, but it doesn't mean he can have some other type of role. It could be, a lead architect role. It could be a special role from Satya. We just don't know until he says he's gone. We don't know what his new impact could be.
True, but it didn't look good.
But I agree with what you're saying.
It didn't look good.
I mean, as long as he doesn't become product the head of product at Salesforce or something, I think we'll be okay.
Correct. There's a lot of people that, while we look at him and we see that he's been deriving in the force lead and pushing people to do this, a lot of the PMs, you got to give them credit on the work that's been done here across many different teams to deliver. This is not just Dynamics CRM anymore. There's many teams that were involved across the platform, even Exchange, Azure, even the stuff with Sales Navigator and the LinkedIn team, which is brand new to what's going on. So there's been lots of coordination, and that's all that's got all of its name on Satya, all of it.
Chris, I wanted to ask you about something. You mentioned LinkedIn, and you do a lot of integrations, and you work in enterprise space. I wanted to ask you, what's the view of customers on when Microsoft declares an integration with something, but in reality, it's a mashup? That is, a lot of things were iframed. A lot of things that we've seen, for example, LinkedIn integration was iframe. Yep. Does it sit well with the enterprise customers? Because smaller businesses, how shall I put it? They don't give a hoot, right? As long as it works and it gets them what they want, they really don't care in particular. But with enterprise, they wanted to know all the small bits and pieces. How does that sit with them?
I would say that what I saw and what I saw from the LinkedIn stuff and what's available, first, for those listeners who didn't get a chance to see it, Sales Navigator available through LinkedIn requires a separate subscription on a monthly basis to use it. It's not a part of the Dynamics 365 suite. So that's the first thing. I didn't even know why it was being presented on the call other than just to demo the solution and let people see it. The second issue that I see there, George, is that tools that we already have, like Inside View, et cetera, already provide the company account information, who the people that work there, et cetera, through whatever business sources that they're using in databases to grab that detail. So getting that value from a connection to LinkedIn is not necessarily somewhere I would go. I think the relationship value of saying, hey, you know this person through this person is very good, because then you can develop those, you now how to chase down your lead and go find it, and then being able to pull that person's name in and create the lead from it, I think that's good too. But I don't see it right now as the shocking, that we must have it feature yet. I think it's still too early to have that call, and certainly from an enterprise perspective, I do not have people knocking on my door asking about, getting this stuff done today. It's just not there. The demand's not there yet.
I don't think it's an enterprise versus non-enterprise discussion, because there's small companies and large companies where the people where LinkedIn's their main sales channel, and there's a lot that aren't. And so if they want LinkedIn and they use LinkedIn and they sell and send in mail, it's a good thing. And I think there are, and Microsoft's licensing for 2017 fiscal year is not out yet, so that's one thing to wait and see. On the Business Forward event with Satya Nadella, they announced there was going to be a combined license. Right. I don't know what that looks like. So yeah, I think there is, but I think you're right. We have this discussion with people at some. I'm thinking of specific salespeople that I've worked, sales managers, and sales managers don't care if it's an iframe or not. If it works, if it makes it easy for me, like I think there is promise in the LinkedIn lead generation tool that they showed. Again, it all comes down to, are you selling to people on LinkedIn or are you not?
Right. I mean, if I'm going to start getting advertising emails on my LinkedIn feed, I can tell you right now, I'm opting out of that stuff. Right. I don't use LinkedIn for that. I use it for tips and burning, etc. But we're all trying to run from advertising. We don't need more.
No, it's not about advertising. I guess the audience would be, for example, Dynamics 365 for talent. That's the product. Yes. I really would like to have a closer look at, and I'll be doing exactly that next month. But I think LinkedIn is a perfect fit for that kind of product, which is HR recruitment, where relationships, references, all make sense.
Yeah, in an HR context, I totally agree with you, George. I think that is perfect place for it. And maybe they were just showing that there's an integration there, but it sounds to me it's more purpose built for that market, that HR market, or the new HR app that they're going to bring out.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about the things that nobody's mentioned yet that I think are the best things they've talked about. Okay. By far, one of the best things is being able to customize the social pane.
Oh, yeah.
I am calling every customer that I've ever talked to for the last 4 years and said, hey, remember when I made you really sad that you couldn't configure the social pane? Well, great news. You can do it now.
Yeah. That's definitely
you guys so petty. You guys so petty. You look at.
But I want to see. I want to see
instead
how
of
much
bigger
you can.
picture.
Well, this is what I'm saying. The big picture is that the little features make or break the user experience for actual real people.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I keep forgetting.
Making it usable because
my customers are loyal.
Yeah, the little people. Yeah. So So I mean, that's the thing is the social pane in 2013 through 2016, it looks pretty, but once you get more than 5 activities in there, it's not really usable. If you want to look at conversations overall over, not just today, but going back, the fact that the current one resorts by modified on. So if you touch an activity in any way, it'll put it up at the top, even though it might have been a year ago. That's just one example. My favorite comment was when you were talking about the marketing functionality in Business Edition. They said something to the extent of, I think somebody asked, is it based on Microsoft Dynamics Marketing? And the guy doing the presentation said, it's similar to Microsoft Dynamics Marketing, only it's functional and usable.
Nice.
So yeah, I think that's telling. But if you were the one guy using Interactive Service Hub and Dynamics marketing, you got to be really nervous right now. Your world is changing.
You know what?
Hey,
I've got one customer who uses Interactive Service Hub, and you know why? I tell you why. Because Interactive Service Hub has tabs. They missed tabs so much that, and guess what? The new UCI client has tabs. Well, they like links.
Yes,
they don't show up as physical, like drawn tabs, but the concept is the same. You don't need to, go down to flick between different tabs. So here you have it, right? So it's because CRM 3.0 functionality is making its way back.
Talk about making its way back. What about the left nav bar reappearing, huh?
Oh,
I
yes.
hope that thing is customizable. If we can use that on accounts and contacts and entities to be able to modify that left nav bar to come up, that would be quite a nice new little toy that we've been given.
I think the whole concept, the premise behind this disappearing left bar was that we can stick everything on one screen, right? What's important for users. Turns out, no. People have, attention span of a goldfish, so they need navigation to help them out. And left bar, it's a great tool.
Another favorite feature is the Skype integration in the business edition, where it's that you can see the presence, everything is right there. You don't have to leave the app. I can see that turning into the call center piece really quick for the call center edition for the business edition. Let's say, I don't know what you call it, business edition for call centers or something, right? Being able to pop it up and limit the screen, that was really nice.
Yeah, that's cool. So what is this, I guess, forking of Dynamics into Business Edition and Enterprise Edition mean for professionals working in as consultants or even trainers, that type of thing? Do people start specializing and becoming I'm a Business Edition expert, I'm an Enterprise Edition expert? What do you think?
Hey, go ahead. Let's let John talk a little.
Well, I think that it really just depends on who you're selling to. I mean, typically, because of right now, I think you might see more classically SMB consultant firms or consultants themselves just focusing on the features and functions of the business edition to try to get some ROI off of it instead of having to wrestle with the entire enterprise product. I could definitely see that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we kind of blown the whole what you learn out of the water about 4 releases ago. There's just too much to be an expert anymore on every item, right? There's no way somebody knows every component and feature set like all of us knew 4.0 inside and out, upside and down. There was no doubt. There's just so much going on that nobody can really be an expert in every area. I think you will see people branch into certain areas. I'm still thinking that right now we're perceiving the business edition and the UI different than enterprise. But once the enterprise edition's UI is updated, I don't think it's going to be that much drastic. I think we're going to have the same type of screens, etc., just the more functionality available that the enterprise edition brings.
Yeah, I agree, and I think short term it's going to be a little bit strange, and it's up to us to make sure that we understand the differences, so you don't unintentionally mislead a client about what they can and can't do, and those licensing whammies are painful when you hit a brick wall and say, oh no, we can't do that because you don't have this license, so we got to bring Microsoft involved. But I as I was watching the business edition, I thought of large companies that have 80 users that are using it for a focused subset of their sales group, or their marketing group is using it, that type of thing. Or there's some really big companies from a revenue standpoint that have 50 people working for them. And for those scenarios, that's where, again, calling it business edition and that it's not for large companies, I don't think that that's necessarily going to be be the case, and there's going to be large companies that are going to want to start small. And as long as there's an upgrade path and a way to migrate between them, and it's clear what those differences and what those limits are, I think that can work.
Did you see the 2 new customization features for on the forms and views, where that one, you can actually create the field right there without having to go add it and then come back? And secondly, the ability to actually see the data in the view in a preview before you publish it.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. That was very cool.
How many times have we gone, add it, save it, publish, go back, add it to the field, go back, publish, save it, come back? You know
the ability to add a field like from the form was in CRM 1.2.
Yep.
So it's like, hey, it's back.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's all of the user focus. That's the idea forms. That's what's driving. You know, I really, really love the fact that we're tweaking and tuning this thing to be and I'm going to say the word simplistic, but that's not it. It's elegant, right? It's more elegant in the way it handles design. I love, again, back to the solutioning comment of how they've broken out the solutions. I think that's an awesome experience for us when we're dealing with multiple areas and how to troubleshoot and get updates. You know, if you guys are wondering about pictures, etc., obviously, you know, on Twitter, there's a ton of stuff that we tweeted out over the last 3 days, but I actually took all the business edition slides and put them in a quick PowerPoint that you can view on cognitacloud.net. If you guys want to see that as well, and you can see some of the pictures and things that we've been talking about as well.
Oh, the other one that was not a fireworks kind of announcement, but I think is a good incremental improvement, is they're continuing to develop out the app designer and app model, and the fact that you now will have your apps work on mobile and have them available even offline really completes that story, I think. And I think I saw, did I see different forms where multiple forms were now going to be available for mobile too?
I'm checking. I don't see that one in here right now.
Okay, but I know they said that your apps are going to be available from mobile as well too. So that's a good thing.
You know, and then one of the other things I think we cannot let this podcast go without talking about it was all the predictive analysis. That stuff was amazing. Mm-hmm. Just looking at it and seeing the data, how it was breaking apart the data, how it learns, right? You know, everybody's all worried about, do I need a guy that knows how to do this? I forgot what they call their names. You know, a data scientist or something.
They call that a Scott Sewell.
Scott Sewell. Do I need a Scott Sewell or a data science officer to come make this work? But no, man, the thing learns on the fly. It can train. It tells you its results. I mean, the technologies that Azure is providing is just second to none. I mean, I don't know how these other cloud platforms, all they are is infrastructure as a service. They have nothing on Azure.
Yeah, no, that's great. And that again, we'll have a lot more to dig into each one of these things, and I'm sure we're going to learn more details about Business Edition and what's new. But yeah, it's great to be able to talk about this as soon as we hear about it. And you know, this is something that we're all, I'm sure, trying to figure out what this new world we're living in is, and how to figure out who Business Edition is right for and who it's not right for, and how we advise people on that. So that's great. Now, Sean, you had not to take attention away from this, but since it was mentioned already, I believe you participated in the Dynamics 365 for Talent airlift or whatever. Yeah, the preview.
Yeah, so I did sign up for the preview where I was able to provision an environment. It was interesting in the sense that it was not any. I mean, the controls that we saw today and the last couple of days were very familiar. The app itself was kind of it reminded me a little bit of a portal, but it wasn't a portal. It's definitely based with Power Apps is a core feature of it, but it was not connected to CRM or AX. in any way that I could easily ascertain. I think maybe because it was just a preview environment to where it was more with dummy data, but it was difficult to understand how you can customize it, how you can integrate it to other systems, and it did have the LinkedIn capability for the recruiting side. The interesting thing about it, though, is in this preview you had 3 different logins to the 3 different areas. It wasn't a login as like a system administrator, and then you can create dummy users to provision something like that. You literally went in and clicked a different link to get to each section for that user experience. So I need to play around with it a little more, but it was interesting to say the least. Definitely something more HR specific than what we've been used to in the past.
So nothing to see here now.
Nothing that really jumped
Unless
out. I
you're
mean,
a recruiter or an HR person.
Right. It was very, very focused that way. You know, you had a portal for employees that essentially allowed them to see their benefits and book a vacation day, things like that. You had an admin portal for the HR side to where you could add job postings and fill job postings and come up with onboarding tasks. And then you had an area for the recruiter that had the LinkedIn integration, and you could look at recruits.
But as much as I see people complaining about recruiters on LinkedIn, if anybody needs good CRM type functionality to manage your contacts and remember what you talked about and how what they're qualified for, I would think recruiters would be a good market for that.
Mm-hmm.
So George, we had some awards recently for CRM Tip of the Day. I saw we got an email from Feedspot, and we were honored because it said, "Congratulations, you are one of the top 100 CRM blogs." And we were honored. And then the next day we got one from the same guy saying, "Congratulations, you have been named one of the top 80 working mothers blogs."
Hey, look at that. Well, those CRM consultants who are also mothers working from home, I can see it.
Speaking of people who need a better CRM, oh no, we have a nice badge saying top 80 working mothers blogs. So I'm glad we're finally getting honored for our hard work as working mothers.
We've got the huge, first prize token, the medal, to put it. Shall we put it on the website?
How can we use this honored award to get filthy rich? I can't figure it out yet, but
you guys are doing great. I know a lot of followers, a lot of customers talking about you guys, and I certainly love the Tip of the Day website as well. It makes it real easy to find some of those things that you kind of forget about, right? Hey George, I got another one for you. What about virtual entities, man?
Oh
yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
What were the limitations that they mentioned? It was only like
read only.
You can't do it's read only, and also organization entities. So it's the one thing that I saw from that I'm taking, at least in this release, is there might be some things that might work for as virtual entity, but there might be some security concerns. Say, my ideal customer for this was a financial services company that wanted to show, things like, portfolio balances and things like that for, a large number of accounts without moving to CRM. They're going to want security around that, so you can say these records can be viewed by these people. Now maybe if we obscure it and say we're showing it in context of an account or a company, and if you can't see the company, you can't get to it. Maybe there's some way to do that. That's probably. I'm excited about it, and I see a lot of use cases for it. But some of the use cases I saw give me a little pause because of the security aspect.
Yeah, but if you can harness it correctly for like a reference entity from an external system, then I think it could be pretty powerful. That's how I was kind of looking at it, as more of a reference entity from an external system.
And I actually have a project where we're gonna give it a college try. We haven't committed to using it, but we were looking at doing a custom approach to doing that, which we've got our own IP around that. But now that that's coming, and hopefully we'll have an environment we can play with it. If it works, if it's performant and it keeping the data down and having it real time available is really attractive. Mm-hmm. And my thought is too that could potentially be kind of another Trojan horse for Azure, because if you have the data in a legacy system that can't be accessed via OData, right. To me the obvious choice is bring that data into Azure, maybe via Kingsway Soft or something like that, and then expose it that way.
Cosmo DB. Anyone?
It'll definitely be interesting to see if that works out.
Oh yeah, I'm watching that one closely, George, because I think that's the solution for global Dynamics platform across the world.
Yeah, I was going to say, what do we think they're really using for Dynamics 365 Online? Is it still a similar version to what they have with on-premises, or do we think Microsoft has some special stuff that they use for online that is not available for on-premises from a database standpoint?
Not yet.
Because somebody was asking me, so when Microsoft upgrades your org, it happens so quickly, and how do they do that? And I'm saying I would bet they have some it's not distributed, but some kind of cool tools that are not available to us.
Look, there are a few things they do differently, but it doesn't mean that they use different infrastructure. Well, architecturally wise, they don't use, say, Cosmo DB to store CRM. No, they still use SQL. The way they configure it and pre-configure, and the way they have resources available, and most importantly, the tooling they have internally. Remember, we had the benefits of having a sneak peek into their support center, one of their support centers. Remember that? The tooling, what was most valuable there? To me, that was the tooling those guys use, right? And that's internal, never going to get published anywhere. So when you're talking about, for example, provisioning database.
Now that George talked about it, he's going to disappear after this podcast.
Yeah. So think about it, like how they provision orgs so quickly. Very easy. They have those orgs lying around. Why do you think your org name never matches your URL or you?
George, I think that while some of it you're right, but I believe that when you look at some of the features, like how they separated out the sandbox mode and things like that, they have done things, Joel, on the platform line that we probably won't ever see or know about because behind the scenes details, right? But there is a move, and you can see that they're continuing to add and build on top of Azure. And I predict it won't be long before that platform will somehow either live or reside completely in Azure. Right.
Yeah, this is exciting times. Well, thank you guys, and thank you, Chris, for jumping on today. The good thing is we're never running out of stuff to talk about on CRM Audio and CRM Tip of the Day. This has been CRM Audio, the Dynamics 365 podcast, with Business Solutions MVPs George Dubinsky, Joel Lindstrom, and Sean Tabor. This podcast is a production of Dynamic Podcasts, LLC. Follow us on Twitter at CRM Audio. Subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, or any place else that fine podcasts are available. You can email us at voice@crm.audio with questions or topic suggestions. Special thanks again to our sponsors, Kingsway Soft and Alexa CRM, and thanks to Dale Simmons for providing our music.